Welcome back to Sports by GSMC Podcast Network. I am your host, Jeremy Lapidus. If you are just tuning in, we just finished talking all about the Lakers and the Cavaliers head coaching, really the whole situation with the Lakers as the offseason continues and the draft is right around the corner. In this segment coming up, we are going to move into the NFL. We're going to talk a little bit about the punishments being handed down by the NFL to the Falcons and the Eagles situation with Saquon Barkley in regards to tampering. But before we get into all of that, remember that if you would like to be an even bigger part of the show than you already are, all you need to do is go to GSMC Podcast Network. Go to gsmcpodcast.net. Leave a tip or donation with a message in it. That message should pop up on the bottom of the screen for you, me, and everybody else around the world to see. If you do have a burning question about sports, anything at all, go ahead and throw that in the chat, in the comments. I will get to it as soon as I possibly can. Appreciate all of you guys for sticking around, talking some sports with me here on a beautiful Thursday afternoon. But like I was saying, we are going to get into a little bit of NFL coverage here, talking about the Falcons and the Eagles situation. Both of them were being investigated for tampering with free agencies, with the free agent period. The Eagles being investigated for their signing of Saquon Barkley. That happened very quickly after the offseason. They were cleared of everything, so no punishment coming to the Eagles. They found that everything was above board, or at least not punishable, or not bad enough to be punishable. The Falcons, on the other hand, they were punished. The Falcons were docked a fifth-round draft pick in 2025 and fined $250,000 for the tampering policy. This is having to do with Kirk Cousins, wide receiver Daryl Mooney, and tight end Charlie Warner. You know, the NFL also fined the GM Terry Fontenot $50,000. This is all stemming from these players that they signed in the offseason. It was Kirk Cousins was the big one. They said that they tampered, did this beforehand, and this is a very interesting situation because tampering is it's an interesting part of free agency. You obviously have times that you can go and talk to you can go and talk to free agents, and times that you're not allowed to do that. Uh, it's a very delicate situation when you're doing it, and it has these rules, so you have contracts, get these teams, uh, get these teams. So it's a very tough situation. And with the Falcons, they had a big offseason. Obviously, going out and getting a quarterback, getting Kirk Cousins, Darnell Mooney. This isn't the first time in recent history though that there has been tampering policies. This is actually not nearly as bad as the most recent one. It's kind of on par with the other one. The most recent one that happened just last year, if you remember, with the Miami Dolphins when they were fired for tampering, not with players but with head coach possibly in Tom Brady and Sean Payton. They were docked a first round and a third round pick in the draft for these actions. And tampering obviously is something that's super serious. You need to have a fair free agency period. You can't be having these teams have deals set up before free agency starts. If you would like, you need to have these deals. You need to have it so that all these teams can bid. Honestly, you can't have it so that if a team wants to go and have a discussion with the guy, that it's impossible. They've already gotten the deal done. And it really messes with a lot of things, not just in the NFL. And the NFL has done a very good job of dealing with tampering. This is a thing in every single league. Obviously, as the internet and more ways of communication open up, it gets harder and harder to track these things. But, it's a lot like, because all this news comes in at once, and it seems like there should be more of this than there is, but teams do a very good job of doing it, especially in free agency this year. Before free agency opened, they have that 2 day like pre-free agency window that you're allowed to go and get people signed in. That's where almost every big free agent move happened. You had just about I mean, just about every move happened before the official opening of free agency, and it makes it a little suspicious. There were two teams that were under investigation. Um, with the Eagles, they didn't find sufficient evidence to support the support that they broke the tampering policy. Uh, you know, it was uh, right after he signed. James Franklin suggested that Howie Roseman spoke to Saquon Barkley during the legal tampering period. So again, tampering is kind of confusing in the NFL. There's legal tampering period, and there's times where you can't talk to these guys. It's it's a whole smorgasbord of ideas here, but the the main point being here that the Falcons were docked a fifth round pick for their conversations with Kirk Cousins before free agency began. Obviously, leading down to him being their new quarterback, signing that massive deal. So we'll see how this affects the rest of the NFL. I mean, a fifth round pick isn't going to kill you. It wasn't a huge tampering violation. It wasn't anything that led to losing, a first round pick. But maybe we're going to start to see teams crack down a little bit more on this, because this is 2 years in a row where we've had tampering violations. And, beforehand, there hadn't been one since 2016, 2011, 2008. So they were very rare, but 2 years in a row is kind of a little bit of a disturbing trend inside of the NFL. And we'll see if these continued punishments of tampering will slow it all down. But anyway, uh, we're going to finish off our show today talking a little bit about the Saints and Alvin Kamara. Alvin Kamara is missing camp, looking for more money as a running back. Uh, so we'll talk a little bit about everything to do with that situation. So stick around for that. We'll be right back here on Sports by GSMC Podcast Network.